Annyeong, it's Mikey here. Thank you guys so much for just all the support you've given me and building this channel up. I'm still technically a noob, I'm still learning, so please don't be afraid to always leave comments. I will respond and I will always learn and try to grow and make my videos better. Now today, I really want to thank Chilkey and Wuque Studio for sending me out the ND75. So, Wuque Studio is collabing with Chilkey to be able to promote this keyboard, and they sent me out the barebone kit, and then I got Wuque Studio's whale keycaps, as well as the Wuque Studio light tactiles. So let's go take a look and do the unboxing.
So let's start with the unboxing of the ND75. So as soon as we open the box, of course, we're going to get the manual, starter guide, and so much more. Of course, guys, this is the barebone kit, so we're not getting it with the keycaps and everything. Let's open the accessories box. We get screwdrivers, screws, and of course the PC plate, socks, with the nibbles, and you actually get an extra ribbon cable, which is really useful. So let me start opening up the ND75 barebone case. It's fully wrapped up, so of course I have to open it up, and my goodness guys, this thing looks really nice. Gotta admit, it's a beautiful color, and of course I want to do a little weight. It's me 1.48, so about 1.5 kilos without the switches or anything. Now this, guys, is going to be the whale keycaps that they sent me, that I'm going to be doing this build with. And of course I'm going to also do it with the light Wuque Studio tactile switches. So again, thank you again to Wuque Studio and Chilkey for sending me out the ND75. We're going to take this apart and we're going to actually now do the full build. So let's just take a look to see what's on the bottom. So we have the magnetic connection, which is really cool, though I don't really like it when it's separate from the actual PCB. I wish they actually built it into the PCB, but as you can see, there's going to be the PCB foam on the bottom, we have the plate foam, and we also have a PC plate and stabilizers that are already built in. They are plate mounted stabilizers, so that is nice. Now, of course, we have to test later to see if that's good. So as you saw, I was just doing a little bit of a scratching test on it, just because it is an interesting PC plate. It does feel a little bit different and scratchy. So now that we've put everything together, and of course we're going to put the silicone pads on the bottom, we're going to put in the switches and fully take a look at the Wuque Studio whale keycaps. So let's take a look more in depth onto the whale keycaps. So as you guys know, I had purchased myself a device that will actually measure how thick the keycap can be. So let's take a look to see what it looks like. Now this is a really nice color profile from Wuque Studio with the whale keycaps. If you really like a lighter pastel-y color, you're gonna like these keycap sets. Now as we're taking a look here, we're getting about 1.4, 1.3 millimeters for the thickness of the keycaps, which is really nice. It is a decently thick keycap set. Not a big fan of the color scheme myself, but you may enjoy this. So let's put it all together in and do a sound test. So something I noticed after I did the sound test and using the board was that the stabilizers did not sound so great. It sounded very mushy, which was a bit weird. Now, because it sounds mushy, what we're gonna do, it's not all of them by the way, it's specifically for like the enter key. So we're gonna replace these with the TX almost perfect stabilizers. And I'm gonna also show you guys how I lube stabilizers and what I do to put them together really nicely. Another thing that I want to do is also see what we can do to mod this board. Now we're going to see how much space we have, and we're going to put it together some kind of mod to see how we can make it sound just a little bit nicer. So of course, you guys know I like to use a car sound deafener. We're going to see if it fits. Now, one of the things about ball bearing keyboard kits is that I find that there's not much space for modifications available, and as you can see with the car sound deafener on the bottom, it's not closing. And every time you try to close it, it'll partially close, but you'll see that when you pull it open or even lift it up, it will come apart. And the bottom of the plate foam is fully glued on there. Like it's taped on actually, but because it's taped on, I'm not going to be able to do a tape mod on the PCB directly. So what I'll do instead is remove the ribbon cable for a moment and put tape on the back of the case, back of the foam actually, and we'll do the modification that way. So I did about 2 layers, and then we're going to of course do a sound test. Let's see if it actually closes, but it should. I don't think there should be any issues with it closing with just 2 layers of a tape mod. And yep, it closed just fine. So let me also show you guys now how I lube my stabilizers, as we're going to be replacing the one on the enter key. I would advise most of the time just replace all of them if you want to keep more of a even feeling. I will do mix and match depending on if I feel like the stabilizers work, then I might as well keep it. So I lube the stems and then I lube the inside of the housing. So make sure you get all sides where it's going to be connecting with the stem, and make sure the stem is fully lubed. So make sure to lube both of them, and then we're going to be doing it with Krytox 205 G0, of course. That is the lube I use. I know I've been questioned multiple times about that. And then for the actual wire itself. Now the wire itself, we're going to be using something completely different. And what it is a XHT BDZ. So that's what I use to actually loop the wire portion. And I find that because it's thicker, it works really well and helps with reducing rattle noises and any pinging sounds. So make sure all the portions that are going to be connecting with the stem and the housing is looped up. And then we're going to put it all together and you're done. And all you have to do is now put it into the board itself. So let's do a sound test of the fully modded with the new stabilizers. So I would like to give you guys a more in-depth review of what my opinion is of this keyboard. Now, as I said earlier, I really wish that they actually built in the magnetic connector into the PCB instead of it having as a wire. That's something I personally think would have been nicer. It's just a nicer feeling because it feels a bit more quality. This just feels like it was a PCB, and then they did this by actually adding a ribbon cable with the connector. And as you can see also there on the PCB, there's another connector there, which kind of looks like a battery connector, yet the battery is already built inside of the bottom case itself. But that is just my own personal opinion that I think would have been really nice that they could have done. Now, I would like to go into the software and even gameplay footage of what I think in terms of using this custom board for gaming. So let's go more in depth with the software. So if you go onto Chilkey's website, you will actually be able to download the ND75 drivers. One thing to note, it won't fully work without the downloading of the driver. So make sure you download the driver first. Do not panic if your board isn't working when you first connect it. You have to download the driver. So you go into Chilkey's website, go into ND series, and you will be able to find the driver right away. Now this is what the ND75 software looks like. You're actually able to put in different configs. You can even rename it, which is really nice. And this is something that you can actually do offline even, which is something I think should be what it's like instead of the online software, which the Hall Effect board had last week. So you can play around with the lighting. You can also even play with the LCD screen. So it's fully built in. You don't actually have to download something separate. This software has it all in together, which I think is awesome. I know the Sidu that I did before, you had to download a software separately. This is great because it's already all built in. I think it is a decent software. You know, you get the support that you need, and you're able to make this changes that you're required with the lighting, LCD screen, or even shortcuts. I think, yeah, not bad. Actually, not too bad. I would say this is something that would work well, though I'm sure some people would prefer the VIA. I think a software is a nice touch, especially because it's very dedicated for the specific company. Now I'd like to show you guys a little bit of gameplay footage that I had and my thoughts on using it for gaming. So my initial thoughts using this for gaming. It was a little bit tough to get used to be honest. Like, I've used other keyboards. This one felt a little bit janky in terms of pressing the keys. I did change it to the Morandi switches for gaming. I feel like Tactile is just hard to use for myself, so I like linear switches specifically for gaming. Now, I was trying to, make sure to pick up items quickly, movement, going around and pressing skills. Don't mind my aim, guys. I know I'm not that good, but I did feel like it was a little bit hard to play games on this one, especially in a very, very fast-paced game like Apex. I do prefer using a Hall Effect keyboard, of course, but as you can see here, like it just felt a little bit awkward, like trying to close doors, pressing things, making sure that everything was going quickly. I felt like there was slight delays in terms of what I was pressing on the board compared to what was actually happening in game.
님이 어그로 끌어줘야 됨, 저 개피. 나이스.
But I do feel like once you do get used to it, it does work though. It's not like super competitive gaming keyboard, but for your regular gamer, this will work fine. And I mean, in general, guys, when you're using a custom keyboard, it sounds nice, right? But to be fair, when you're actually gaming with a headset on, you don't really hear what you're pressing on the keyboard. But I would say in terms of very competitive gaming, with movement specifically for Apex, it does work. It will take some time to get used to though, compared to, say, a Hall Effect board or some other keyboard that has a much lower latency response. So, what is my opinion of this board? I had the Rainy 75, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are just comparing this with that keyboard, especially because it's around the same price. I think in terms of build quality, this is really great. I think for build quality itself, I would choose the ND75 over the Rainy 75. In terms of actual thocky sound, the foamy sound, like, I would say the Rainy 75 definitely has a better sound. It is really built well in terms of sound. And honestly, I think in terms of latency too, the Rainy 75 is just a little bit better. But in terms of the fact is this is a ball bearing keyboard with a magnetic connection. That is something that most of the times you have seen in a bit more of a quality board. The best example would be like a Neo 80 from QWERTY Keys, which again I will do a review of as well soon. But yeah, I think if I were to compare the two, it's really difficult. It comes to your choice. I think in general the color scheme though, Chilkey has done it better. And in terms of just overall sound, Rainy I think is a little bit better. But of course it depends on the switches you're using. I personally found it a bit difficult to type on the Rainy 75. And I do like how Chilkey's keycaps color profiles and the keyboard case profile is just a little bit nicer. And this one does come with a nice LCD screen, which you can actually do a little bit more with. So in terms of actual what you're getting for it, you're getting a little bit more for the Chilkey ND75 than the Rainy 75. And that's just personally my own opinion. But that is what I believe for the 75. But again, there's so many 75 keyboards out there. So of course, I'm going to have to do reviews on much more and see what I think is going to be the best.
What did you guys think of the ND75? I mean, you know what? I've tried out the Rainy 75, and I gotta say that this keyboard, I think, is a little bit nicer quality in terms of the fact that it is a ball bearing kit and it has the magnetic connection. Though I really wish that they actually built it straight into the PCB. That would have been incredibly nice. But you know what? This keyboard does sound really nice. I have to admit, it does sound great, but you don't really have too much room. That's something I noticed with ball bearing keyboards. It's not too much room for modifications. But you know what? I'll have the links below in the description that you can check out for the ND75. And you know what? There's so many 75% keyboards out there that now you have another one on the list that you can take a look and check out my review before you make a purchase. So thank you again to Wuque Studio and Chilkeys, and please check out the videos that I have up here in the boxes, and I'll catch you guys next time.